Have you ever noticed tension in your shoulders that just won't go away? Or a heaviness in your chest? Or even that restless, uneasy feeling you can't explain? What if I told you that these sensations aren't just in your head? They're your body holding on to trauma. Trauma doesn't only exist in your memories or emotions. It literally lives in your body, shaping the way you move, breathe, and even think. Every sigh, every tense muscle, every shallow breath can be a signal that your body is still carrying old, unresolved experiences. And the truth is, trauma can impact more than just your mental state. It can affect your health, your relationships, and your overall sense of safety. But here's the good news. Your body also holds the key to releasing it. Healing trauma isn't just about talking or thinking. It's about feeling, moving, and connecting with your body in a way that finally lets go of what it's been holding for years. In this video, we're going to uncover the hidden ways trauma imprints itself on your body. We'll explore why your nervous system can get stuck in survival mode, why chronic stress and old wounds can show up as pain or tension, and most importantly, the practical steps you can take to release it. From breathwork and somatic exercises to therapy-informed practices and daily rituals, we'll cover actionable tools that help your body reclaim safety, calm, and freedom. If you've ever felt that your body is working against you, or that your mind knows what's wrong but your body won't let go, this video is for you. By the end, you'll understand how trauma manifests physically, why it can be so stubborn, and how you can finally begin the process of release. So take a deep breath, settle into your space, and let's explore the powerful connection between your mind, your body, and the trauma that's been quietly living inside you. It's time to unlock your body's ability to heal. Welcome to Self-Unlocked, the space where cutting-edge science meets ancient wisdom to help you unlock your true potential. To truly understand how trauma lives in the body, we have to start with one essential question. What is trauma? And surprisingly, the answer is far bigger and far more personal than most people realize. Most people hear the word trauma and immediately think of catastrophic events. Accidents, assaults, war, natural disasters, near-death experiences. And yes, these experiences can create trauma, but they are only one piece of the story. Trauma isn't defined by the event itself. Trauma is defined by the impact the event has on your nervous system. It's not what happened to you, it's how your body had to respond to survive it. Trauma is, at its core, an overwhelming experience that your system was unable to fully process, discharge, or integrate. When something happens that is too fast, too shocking, too confusing, or too painful for your mind and body to handle, your nervous system does something remarkable and often life-saving. It stores the experience. It locks it away. It pushes it down into your body so you can keep going. And that stored energy, that's what we call trauma. Trauma is not only what happened, it's what stayed inside you. You can look perfectly fine on the outside. You can smile, work, take care of family, and live your life. But deep inside your muscles, your breathing, your stomach, your posture, and your subconscious mind, your body might still be holding tight to experiences you never had the chance to release. And because trauma is stored in the body, it doesn't fade just because time passes. You might be 25, 40, or 60 years old, but your body can still be reacting to something that happened when you were 5. This is why a smell, a sound, a tone of voice, or even a facial expression can trigger an overwhelming reaction. Your body doesn't know the danger is over. The many forms of trauma. Trauma is often categorized into 3 main types, each of which leaves its own imprint on the body. Acute trauma, a single intense event that overwhelms your system. Car accident, sudden loss, witnessing violence, a medical emergency. This kind of trauma hits all at once. The body may freeze, shut down, or go into shock because it can't process the event. Chronic trauma, This comes from repeated, prolonged stress, which can be just as damaging as a single major event. Examples include growing up in a stressful or unpredictable household, living with an abusive partner, ongoing bullying, long-term poverty, constant emotional neglect, job environments filled with fear or pressure. Chronic trauma slowly rewires the brain and nervous system, teaching the body to stay in survival mode. Complex trauma. This is when a person experiences multiple traumatic events over time, often beginning in childhood. It usually involves unstable or unsafe caregivers, emotional or physical neglect, unpredictable environments, repeated betrayal or abandonment. Complex trauma is deeply relational and often results in emotional numbness, difficulty trusting, people-pleasing, chronic anxiety, and a disconnection from the body. The subtle traumas we don't talk about. There's another layer of trauma that is rarely acknowledged, what many psychologists call microtraumas or invisible wounds. These include being shamed for your emotions, never receiving comfort or protection, being yelled at as a child, being pressured to be perfect, being forced to grow up too fast, having your boundaries ignored, being told to stop crying, be strong, or don't be dramatic. These experiences may not look like trauma at first glance, but to a child, or even to an adult, these moments can overwhelm the nervous system and create long-lasting imprints. Sometimes the trauma isn't what happened. Sometimes the trauma is what didn't happen. The hug you needed, the apology you never received, the safety that wasn't there, the support that never came. Trauma isn't a weakness, it's a survival response. Here's something crucial. Trauma is not a sign of weakness. In fact, trauma is evidence that your body did everything it could to keep you alive in a moment you weren't prepared for. Your heart racing, your muscles tensing, your breath shortening, your stomach tightening. These reactions were all designed to protect you. Your nervous system doesn't care about your long-term comfort. Its job is simple: survive right now. So when an experience overwhelms you, your body activates powerful survival responses. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn, people-pleasing or appeasing to stay safe. If the danger passes and the body never gets a chance to complete the cycle, never gets to shake, cry, scream, or release, this survival energy gets trapped inside. That trapped energy becomes trauma. Why trauma stays in the body. Have you ever watched animals in the wild after they escape danger? They shake, tremble, breathe heavily, and then go right back to their normal lives. Humans, however, do something animals don't do. We suppress. We hold it in. We pretend we're fine. We keep going because life demands it. Your body keeps holding the energy your mind didn't feel safe enough to process. So instead of release, the trauma becomes chronic tension, anxiety, numbness, fear, overthinking, emotional shutdown, digestive issues, headaches, insomnia, social anxiety, relationship patterns, self-protection mechanisms, difficulty trusting, difficulty relaxing. This is trauma not as a memory, but as a physiology. Trauma is a body experience, not just a mind experience. This is the most important part of this chapter. Trauma is stored in the body. Therefore, trauma must be released through the body. You can't think your way out of trauma. You can't logic it away. You can't just get over it. Talking helps, but only to a certain point. Real healing requires reconnecting with your physical self. Because trauma is not only what you remember. Trauma is what your body remembers. And your body remembers everything. Now that we understand what trauma truly is, we can begin exploring one of the most fascinating and most misunderstood parts of the entire healing journey: how trauma actually shows up in the body. Because trauma isn't just an emotional wound. It's not just a memory or a thought. Trauma is physical. It reshapes your nervous system, your hormones, your posture, and even the way you breathe. Trauma lives in the body in ways most people don't realize. And often, your body has been communicating with you for years, even decades, trying to show you something that your mind learned to ignore. Trauma as tension, the body that never fully relaxes. One of the most common ways trauma manifests is chronic tension that has no medical explanation. You may notice tight shoulders, clenched jaw, stiff neck, a heavy, compressed chest, tension in the hips and lower back, shallow breathing, headaches or migraines. This tension is not random. It's your body staying ready, stuck in survival mode. When you've experienced trauma, especially trauma that was never fully processed, your nervous system gets stuck in hypervigilance. Your muscles stay partially activated, preparing for danger that isn't there anymore. This is why people with trauma often say, "I can never fully relax. I feel on edge all the time. I don't know how to turn off." This is not a personality trait. It is physiology. The freeze response that never completed. Another major way trauma shows up is through the freeze response. Freeze is the biological equivalent of play dead. It happens when neither fight nor flight seems possible. But here's the problem. If the freeze response is never completed, never released, the body stays in a kind of suspended animation. This can feel like numbness, lack of motivation, difficulty taking action, chronic fatigue, feeling disconnected from your surroundings, disassociation, feeling like you're watching your life instead of living it. Freeze is not laziness. It is a trauma imprint. Your body learned that shutting down was the safest option. And now, even when danger is gone, it continues operating from that state. Breath and trauma, the silent messenger. Trauma dramatically alters the way you breathe. A healthy, calm body breathes deeply from the diaphragm. A traumatized body breathes from the upper chest, quick, shallow, and tight. This results in anxiety, rapid heartbeat, inner restlessness, dizziness, difficulty concentrating, emotional overwhelm. Your breath is directly connected to your nervous system. When you're in survival mode, your body assumes you need to conserve or defend yourself. So your breath becomes more shallow, preparing you to react quickly. Many people spend years breathing this way without even realizing it. They think it's normal, but the body never lies. Gut and digestive issues. Did you know that up to 80% of your body's serotonin, the feel-good chemical, is actually produced in the gut? This is why people with trauma often experience stomach pain, irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, nausea, digestive problems, unexplained bloating, appetite changes. When the nervous system is stuck in survival mode, digestion slows down. The body believes danger is near, so it stops focusing on digestion and prioritizes survival. Over time, this creates chronic digestive difficulties that can last long after the traumatic event. Hormonal imbalance and chronic stress. Trauma also impacts your hormonal system, especially cortisol, the stress hormone. Your body may get stuck in high cortisol, anxiety, agitation, panic, or low cortisol, fatigue, depression, lack of energy. This is why people who've experienced trauma often swing between overdrive and collapse. Your body is doing its best to regulate a system that has been thrown off balance. Trauma shows up in posture. Your posture can reveal more about your emotional history than your words ever could. Many trauma survivors subconsciously adopt protective postures. Rounded shoulders, collapsed chest, neck tilted downward, arms close to the body, shallow, guarded stance. This is your body trying to make itself smaller, less noticeable, less vulnerable. Others develop the opposite. Shoulders pulled back, overly stiff body, chest puffed out. Soldier posture. This is the body's attempt to appear strong, alert, and ready for danger at all times. Posture is one of the clearest reflections of unresolved trauma. Your body remembers how it needed to protect you. Emotional symptoms that show up physically. Trauma doesn't just create physical sensations. It also transforms how emotions travel through the body. Some people become hypersensitive, feeling everything intensely. Others become emotionally numb, unable to feel much of anything. Both are trauma responses. This can also manifest as sudden emotional outbursts, crying without knowing why, irritability, difficulty understanding or expressing emotions, feeling overwhelmed easily. Your emotional system is not malfunctioning. It is reacting to unprocessed survival energy still stored in the body. Sleep disturbances and nighttime anxiety. Sleep is one of the most disrupted systems for people with trauma. Common symptoms include insomnia, waking up in the middle of the night, nightmares, restless sleep, waking up exhausted. During sleep, the brain attempts to process unresolved emotions and memories. If trauma is still active in the body, this process becomes overwhelming, leading to disturbed sleep. The body's alarms, triggers. Triggers are not signs of weakness. They are the body's alarm system saying, "This feels like something that hurt us before. Are we safe?" Triggers can be physical, a sound, a smell, a facial expression, a location, or emotional, criticism, signs of conflict, rejection, silence, abandonment. Your body reacts instantly, faster than your conscious mind. Racing heart, sweaty palms, tight throat, shaking. These reactions are not overreactions. They are memories stored in the body being awakened. The disconnected body. When trauma cuts you off from yourself, one of the most profound ways trauma manifests is through disconnection. You may feel out of touch with your body, numb or empty, disconnected from pleasure, unable to feel grounded, unfamiliar with your own needs, not fully present. This is your nervous system protecting you from overwhelming sensations. It disconnects you from feeling because at some point, feeling was dangerous. Your body is not broken. It's protecting you. Every symptom, every tension, every shutdown, every trigger is not a flaw. It is a survival response. Your body is not malfunctioning. Your nervous system is not broken. You are not dramatic, weak, or too sensitive. Your body adapted to keep you safe. It learned patterns that helped you survive. Now, those same patterns may be holding you back, but they were born from strength. And the best part? Anything the body learns, the body can unlearn. Trauma is a biological event that rewrites the chemistry, wiring, and survival systems of the brain and body. To truly understand how trauma lives within us, we must explore the science beneath the surface. The hormones, neural circuits, memory systems, and chronic stress responses that shape our behaviors long after the danger has passed. Let's break down the science in a clear, story-driven way. The brain on trauma. The survival network takes over. When a traumatic event happens, whether it's a single shocking moment or a long period of ongoing stress, the first part of the brain to activate is the amygdala, the alarm center. Its job is simple: detect danger and scream, "Survive!" During trauma, the amygdala becomes hyperactive, firing rapidly, flooding the body with emergency signals. This survival activation does two powerful things. It shuts down the logical brain. The prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for reasoning, decision-making, emotional regulation, and long-term planning, goes offline. This is why during trauma people may freeze, feel confused, or act impulsively. The brain is not malfunctioning. It's protecting you. It creates emotional memories. The amygdala stores memories differently from normal experiences. Instead of being filed away in a story-like format, traumatic memories are saved as intense sensations. Flashes, sounds, body reactions. They're not encoded as past events, but as ongoing threats. This is why trauma survivors may react strongly to triggers that don't make sense. Their brain is not recalling the memory, it's reliving it. The role of the HPA axis. When stress becomes a loop, the body has a built-in stress system known as the HPA axis, hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal. During trauma, the HPA axis floods the body with adrenaline, immediate fight or flight energy. Cortisol keeps the body alert for danger. Glucose, quick fuel to escape. This is helpful during danger, but destructive when it never turns off. For many people, trauma causes chronic activation of the HPA axis. The body stays switched on, even years after the event. This leads to chronic anxiety, insomnia, digestive problems, weakened immunity, fatigue, and inability to relax, emotional hypersensitivity. This is why trauma is often described as a storm inside the nervous system. A storm that doesn't end just because the event is over. How trauma creates body memories. Trauma affects more than the brain. It rewires the entire nervous system. The vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is a major communication line between the brain and the body. Trauma disrupts its functioning, leading to shallow breathing, a tight chest, digestive discomfort, difficulty feeling calm, social withdrawal. When the vagus nerve loses tone, the body stays in survival mode, unable to return to safety. Muscle memory. During trauma, muscles tense to protect the body. If the trauma is never completed, for example, if you were unable to run away, fight back, or scream, those tension patterns become stored. Over time, they show up as neck and shoulder tightness, lower back pain, migraines, chronic fatigue, jaw clenching. Your body remembers what your mind tries to forget. The fascia system. Fascia is the connective tissue that wraps every organ, muscle, and bone. It also stores emotional and sensory information. Studies show that trauma can cause the fascia to become stiff, tight, and dehydrated, leading to widespread pain and restricted movement. Trauma and the triune brain. Why we shut down. Dr. Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory gives us a modern framework for understanding trauma responses. According to this theory, the nervous system has three modes: fight or flight, sympathetic activation. The body becomes alert, fast, and ready to react. Freeze or shut down, dorsal vagal response. When escape feels impossible, the body shuts down. This can feel like numbness, dissociation, exhaustion, emptiness, leaving the body. This shutdown is not weakness, it's biology. It is the body's final survival strategy when all else fails. Social engagement, ventral vagal state. This is the state of safety, connection, and emotional regulation. Trauma makes it difficult to access this state, which is why trauma survivors may struggle with relationships, eye contact, communication, and trust. Trauma and memory. Why flashbacks feel real. Trauma disrupts the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for organizing memories, time, and context. During trauma, the hippocampus shrinks in function. Memories become fragmented. Time perception becomes distorted. The event is stored as ongoing, not past. This is why a smell, sound, or expression can instantly throw someone back into the trauma. The brain did not finish processing the event, so it remains stuck in present tense. The long-term effects of trauma on health. Chronic trauma affects every major system of the body. Immune system. High cortisol suppresses immunity, making the body more vulnerable to infections, autoimmune inflammation, and slow healing. Digestive system. Trauma affects the gut-brain axis. Conditions often linked to stored trauma include IBS, chronic bloating, nausea, loss of appetite, food sensitivities, hormones. Trauma disrupts thyroid hormones, reproductive hormones, insulin responses. This can lead to mood swings, menstrual irregularities, weight changes, and fatigue. The heart. Chronic stress increases risk of high blood pressure, arrhythmias, heart disease. Emotional pain can literally reshape the heart's biology. The good news: trauma can be rewired. The science of trauma also gives us hope. The brain and body are not fixed, they are neuroplastic. This means the amygdala can calm, the hippocampus can rebuild, the vagus nerve can strengthen, muscle memory can release, the stress cycle can complete, safety can be restored. With proper tools, breathwork, somatic therapies, EMDR, movement, meditation, grounding, and supportive relationships, the nervous system can learn to feel safe again. Trauma is not a life sentence. It is an imprint, one that can be rewritten. Trauma is not one experience. It is a spectrum of wounds, some loud and explosive, others silent and invisible. Every type of trauma leaves its own distinct signature in the body. These signatures show up in how we breathe, how we walk, how we hold tension, how we react to stress, and how we feel inside our skin. We explore the different kinds of trauma and the unique physical imprints they leave behind. When you understand these patterns, you begin to understand yourself or someone you love on a deeper level. Acute trauma. The shock that freezes the system. Acute trauma happens in a single event. An accident, a sudden loss, a violent encounter, a medical emergency, a natural disaster. It's the kind of trauma that hits like lightning. The body's signature, shock plus hyperarousal. During acute trauma, the nervous system slams into fight or flight so fast the body doesn't have time to process the experience. This creates rapid heartbeat, shallow breathing, cold hands and feet, tightened muscles, heightened senses, a feeling of being fused in the moment. Even after the danger passes, the body may remain stuck in this hyperalert state. Survivors often report feeling on edge, jumpy, or unsafe doing things that once felt normal. The memory of the event becomes imprinted as a body flashback, a rush of sensations that come out of nowhere. Chronic trauma, the slow burn that reshapes the body. Chronic trauma occurs over long periods. Ongoing domestic violence, childhood neglect, living in unsafe environments, financial instability, community violence, medical trauma that happens repeatedly. This type of trauma isn't one wound, it's 1,000 small cuts. The body's signature, exhaustion plus collapse. Chronic trauma pushes the body beyond its capacity, draining the nervous system until it shifts from fight or flight into freeze. Physical signs often include chronic fatigue, slumped posture, lower back pain, digestive issues, reduced immunity, difficulty concentrating, frequent dissociation or spacing out. When trauma becomes chronic, the body no longer expects safety. It adapts by conserving energy, shutting down emotions, and minimizing stimulation. This is the physiology of hopelessness, not because someone is weak, but because the nervous system has been overrun for too long. Developmental trauma, the trauma that shapes who you become. Developmental trauma happens during childhood, when the brain and body are still forming. It includes emotional neglect, inconsistent caregiving, lack of affection, unpredictable parents, verbal abuse, growing up around addiction, conflict, or chaos. Children need consistent safety to wire their nervous systems correctly. Without it, they grow into adults whose bodies are always preparing for something to go wrong. The body's signature: hyperreactivity plus sensitivity. Adults who lived through developmental trauma often show high sensitivity to tone of voice, tight chests or stomach tension, difficulty relaxing around others, digestive distress, migraines or chronic pain, constantly scanning their environment, difficulty trusting their own body signals. Because their nervous system learned survival as a baseline, their body responds to life as though danger is always nearby. Complex trauma. When many wounds layer together. Complex trauma is a combination of multiple traumas occurring over time, especially when they happen in environments with no escape. This includes repeated childhood trauma, long-term abuse, long-term emotional manipulation, repeated abandonment, family systems filled with conflict and instability. In complex trauma, the nervous system becomes entangled, constantly switching between hyperarousal, fight/flight, and hypoarousal, freeze. The body's signature: mixed signals plus internal chaos. The symptoms look like contradictions, anxiety and numbness, hypervigilance and exhaustion, body pain and emotional shutdown, extreme tension and collapse. One moment the body feels electrified, the next it feels empty. This push-pull is not inconsistency. It is the nervous system trying to survive conflicting conditions. Relational trauma, the wounds of connection. Some of the deepest trauma comes not from events, but from relationships. Relational trauma happens when love is unpredictable, affection is withdrawn as punishment, emotional support is inconsistent, attachment figures cause fear instead of safety. The body learns that connection itself is dangerous. The body's signature: social anxiety plus internal alarm. Relational trauma creates tight shoulders during conversations, difficulty making eye contact, a racing heart around intimacy, feeling frozen when someone gets close, overthinking texts and interactions, panic during conflict. The nervous system associates closeness with threat, so the body responds accordingly. Medical trauma, when healing hurts the nervous system. Medical trauma occurs when procedures, illnesses, or hospitalizations overwhelm the nervous system. People often underestimate how deeply medical experiences affect the body. The body's signature: breath holding plus alarm. Common signs include shallow breathing, fear of sensations, difficulty relaxing muscles, avoidance of doctors, panic when feeling pain or discomfort. Because the body remembers being helpless or violated, even minor physical sensations can trigger survival responses. Social and collective trauma, the trauma we share. This includes war, disasters, epidemics, systemic oppression, community violence. Collective trauma doesn't just affect one body, it affects whole populations. The body's signature: nervous system fatigue. People living through collective trauma often experience tension in the diaphragm, difficulty sleeping, stress-related illnesses, a constant feeling of threat, emotional heaviness. The body is carrying not just personal stress, but the weight of an entire environment in crisis. Moral trauma, when your values are violated. Often seen in soldiers, healthcare workers, first responders, and survivors of abusive systems. It occurs when a person is forced to act against or witness something against their deepest values. The body's signature, chest pain plus shame-based tension. This trauma creates tightness in the heart area, guilt-related stomach pain, difficulty breathing deeply, self-protective posture. The body reflects the internal conflict. The heart literally feels heavier. Every trauma leaves a body print. Different traumas create different physical responses, but they all share one truth. They shape how the body learns to survive. When you recognize the physical signatures in yourself, you're not seeing dysfunction, you're seeing adaptation. You're seeing the intelligence of your nervous system trying to protect you the best way it could. And the good news is, what was learned can be unlearned. What was wired in survival can be rewired in safety. If trauma lives anywhere, it lives in the nervous system, not in the mind, not only in memories, but in the electrical wiring, signals, and reflexes that shape how we feel, react, and survive every moment of every day. The nervous system is the body's command center. It controls your heartbeat, your breathing, your emotional responses, your reactions to stress, and even how connected or disconnected you feel from others. To understand trauma is to understand the nervous system, because trauma is a nervous system injury. Let's break down how this powerful system works and how trauma reshapes it from the inside out. The nervous system at a glance. Your nervous system has two major parts. The central nervous system, CNS. This includes the brain and spinal cord, the headquarters of your thoughts, memories, emotions, and body control. The peripheral nervous system, PNS. This includes all the nerves branching throughout your body, carrying messages to and from the brain. But the deeper story of trauma lies in the autonomic nervous system, ANS, the system that runs automatically without your conscious control. The ANS has three states: sympathetic, fight or flight; parasympathetic, ventral vagal, safety and connection; parasympathetic, dorsal vagal, freeze and shut down. Think of these as the nervous system's three gears. Trauma forces the body into the wrong gear and traps it there. The sympathetic system. When trauma locks you into survival, the sympathetic nervous system is your internal alarm system. It activates when the brain senses danger. When trauma occurs, the sympathetic system surges with adrenaline, cortisol, rapid heartbeats, tight muscles, shallow breathing, tunnel vision. This is useful when danger is real. But for trauma survivors, the sympathetic system becomes overactive, firing even when nothing is wrong. This leads to chronic anxiety, hypervigilance, insomnia, heart palpitations, digestive issues, panic attacks, being easily startled, feeling wired but tired. The body is no longer reacting to the present. It is reacting to a past that never fully ended. The parasympathetic system. The two paths of calm and shutdown. The parasympathetic system is the body's braking system, responsible for slowing the heart, deepening the breath, and restoring calm. But there are two branches of this system, and trauma affects each differently. The ventral vagal, safety, connection, and presence. This is the part of the nervous system that activates when we feel safe. It allows us to connect with others, regulate emotions, communicate clearly, breathe deeply, feel grounded, feel compassion, think rationally. The ventral vagal state is the home of healing. But trauma weakens this system. The body stops trusting safety signals. Even moments of peace can feel threatening. This is why trauma survivors may struggle with relationships, eye contact, social anxiety, intimacy, trust, feeling comfortable in their own skin. Their nervous system has learned safety is dangerous. The dorsal vagal, freeze, collapse, and numbness. When danger feels inescapable, the nervous system shuts down through the dorsal vagal response. This state creates numbness, disconnection, exhaustion, depression, dissociation, low energy, slow heart rate, feeling far away, the sense of being trapped inside your own body. This response originally evolved to protect us during life-threatening events. Animals use it when caught by predators. Humans use it when escape feels impossible. In trauma survivors, this freeze state can become chronic. They live half present, half gone. The switches between states. Why trauma makes you feel unpredictable? A healthy nervous system moves smoothly between activation, fight/flight, deactivation, rest, social engagement, connection. Trauma interrupts this flow. Instead of moving through states, the nervous system begins jumping, spiraling, shutting down abruptly, becoming stuck on fast, becoming stuck on off. This internal instability explains why survivors may feel emotionally overwhelmed one moment, completely numb the next, unable to control reactions, confused by their own behavior. The nervous system is not malfunctioning. It's defending. Neuroception, the body's hidden danger detector. Trauma researchers use the term neuroception to describe how the nervous system detects safety or danger without conscious thought. Your body makes rapid, automatic decisions based on tone of voice, facial expressions, posture, movement, environment, memories stored in the body. For trauma survivors, neuroception becomes distorted. Safe things feel dangerous. Neutral things feel threatening. Dangerous things sometimes feel familiar. This is why people may overreact to small triggers, get anxious around harmless situations, feel tense in calm environments, tolerate harmful relationships. Their nervous system is using old survival data to interpret new experiences. Trauma's effect on the vagus nerve, the highway of healing. The vagus nerve is the major nerve connecting the brain to the body. It influences heart rate, breath, digestion, facial expressions, emotional regulation, social engagement. Trauma weakens vagal tone, making it harder for the body to return to calm. Signs of low vagal tone include difficulty breathing deeply, digestive issues, anxiety, emotional reactivity, lack of facial expression, difficulty relaxing, chronic pain. Strengthening vagal tone is one of the most important steps in trauma healing. The nervous system's master key, completing the survival cycle. When animals face danger, they complete a full cycle. Detect threat, activate fight or flight, escape or defend, discharge the energy, return to calm. Humans often get stuck at step 4. We never discharge the survival energy. The body then holds onto tension, adrenaline, cortisol, incomplete reflexes. This creates the feeling of carrying trauma. Healing happens when the body finally completes the cycle it once couldn't, through movement, shaking, breathwork, somatic therapy, and other methods you'll explore later. The nervous system can heal. Trauma may rewire the nervous system, but the nervous system is flexible, can learn, can change, can reset. With the right tools, the body can reduce sympathetic overactivation, release freeze states, strengthen vagal tone, restore emotional balance, rebuild trust, rediscover safety. Healing is not a miracle, it is biology. It is the nervous system returning to a state it always knew, home. If trauma lives in the body, then the body must become part of the healing. This is the heart of somatic healing. a form of therapy and self-work that teaches you to listen to your body, feel what it's holding, and release what has been trapped inside. Somatic work is the opposite of forcing yourself to move on, get over it, or think positively. It's not about changing your mind. It's about letting your body speak. Because your body holds stories your mind has forgotten. Your body remembers fears your mind learned to suppress. Your body carries emotions you were once too overwhelmed to feel. Somatic healing is the process of reconnecting with these messages, not to re-traumatize yourself, but to finally free yourself. The body speaks in sensations, not words. Your body doesn't communicate with language. Communicates with tightness, heaviness, numbness, heat, tension, clenching, shaking, pressure, butterflies, restlessness. These sensations are like whispers from the nervous system. Somatic healing teaches you to notice these sensations with curiosity instead of fear. Because every sensation is a clue. Every pattern of tension is a map. Every shutdown is a protective reflex that once kept you alive. The core of somatic healing: safety. Somatic work begins with one essential foundation: safety. Real, embodied safety. Without a sense of safety, the body cannot release trauma because it believes danger is still present. This is why the first stage of somatic healing is not reliving traumatic memories. It's learning to ground, breathe, soften, stabilize, reconnect with your body in small ways. When the body feels safe, it stops bracing for impact. It relaxes its defenses long enough to let old survival energy rise to the surface. The 3 pillars of somatic healing. Somatic healing rests on 3 major pillars. Awareness, learning to feel what you feel. Many trauma survivors live disconnected from their bodies. This isn't a flaw, it's protection. Somatic healing gently guides you from dissociation back into presence. Awareness practices include placing a hand on your chest or stomach, noticing your breath, scanning your body for sensations, slowing down enough to feel your feet on the ground, observing tension without trying to change it. The goal is not to force feelings. It's to create a compassionate space where feelings can arise naturally, without judgment. Awareness teaches you that sensations are not enemies. They are messages. Regulation, helping the nervous system return to balance. Once you build awareness, the next step is regulation, learning to shift your nervous system out of survival mode. Somatic regulation tools include deep diaphragmatic breathing, humming or toning, vagus nerve activation, rhythmic movement, shaking or trembling, slow, mindful stretching, grounding touch or self-holding, orienting, looking around to remind the body it's safe. These tools signal to the nervous system, you are safe now. It's okay to relax. Regulation doesn't mean getting rid of emotions. It means helping your nervous system move through them without becoming overwhelmed. Release, completing the survival cycle. This is where somatic healing becomes powerful. Trauma gets stuck because the survival response was never completed. Somatic release allows the body to finish what it couldn't finish long ago. Release may show up as shaking, crying, trembling, heat rising, a wave of emotion, spontaneous movement, a sudden deep breath, a sense of softening or melting. These reactions are not breakdowns, they are breakthroughs. This is the body letting go of stored energy that has been trapped for years. When release happens, many people feel lighter, calmer, more present, more in their body, more alive. It is not dramatic, it is natural. Animals do this instinctively. Humans are relearning it. The myth of talking it out. Traditional talk therapy can be incredibly helpful for understanding trauma, patterns, and beliefs. But talking alone cannot fully heal trauma, because trauma is not stored in the thinking brain. It's stored in the survival brain and in the muscles, fascia, breath, and nervous system. Somatic healing completes the part talking can't reach. This is why many people say, "I understood my trauma years ago, but I still feel it." Understanding is mental. Healing is physical. The role of breath in somatic healing. Breath is the bridge between your conscious mind and your nervous system. When you breathe deeply, slowly, and intentionally, you send a message straight to your vagus nerve. It's safe to let go. Somatic breathwork can calm anxiety, reduce hypervigilance, release trapped emotions, regulate the heart, break freeze states, reconnect you with your body. Breath reopens pathways that trauma once shut down. The body knows how to heal, but it needs permission. Somatic healing is not something you force. It's something you allow. Your body already knows how to shake, cry, tremble, breathe, and release. These are natural healing mechanisms. But trauma teaches you to suppress these instincts. Somatic practices give your body permission to do what it's been trying to do for years. You are not teaching your body how to heal. You are letting it finally resume the healing it once had to pause. The gentle art of titration. A key principle of somatic therapy is titration, taking very, very small steps. Instead of diving into overwhelming emotions, you approach them like dipping your toe into warm water. Titration prevents re-traumatization and teaches the nervous system, "I can feel this, and I'm still safe." Healing doesn't come from pushing through pain. It comes from small doses that gradually expand your capacity to feel. Why somatic healing transforms lives. Somatic healing doesn't just treat symptoms. It changes your relationship with your body, your emotions, and your identity. People often report increased confidence, healthier boundaries, more emotional resilience, deeper intuition, more authentic relationships, less reactivity, increased clarity, more grounded presence. Because when your body is no longer stuck in the past, you can finally live in the present. You don't have to dig into trauma to heal it. Somatic healing works bottom up, not top down. You don't need to relive your trauma. You don't need to force memories to come back. You don't need to analyze every detail. You simply need to feel what's happening right now, gently, safely, and with curiosity. The body will take care of the rest. Breath is the bridge between the conscious mind and the unconscious body. It is the only physiological function that happens automatically yet can also be controlled intentionally. This makes it one of the most powerful tools for trauma healing. To understand why breathwork has become central in modern somatic therapies, you must understand how trauma lives inside your biology, particularly your nervous system, and how the breath gives you access to states of regulation, release, and restoration that talking alone cannot reach. For people holding decades of buried memories, body reactions, emotional shutdown, or unexplained anxiety, breathwork often becomes the first moment they feel something shift. It bypasses intellectual defenses, cuts through rational explanations, and goes straight to the place where trauma hides, the autonomic nervous system. When you change your breath, you literally change your physiology, your emotional patterns, and even the way your brain interprets the world. Why breath is the key to unlocking trauma. Trauma disrupts breathing patterns. In fact, one of the clearest signs of unresolved trauma is chronic breath constriction. Tight chest, shallow inhales, collapsed ribs, or the inability to exhale fully. A traumatized body is always expecting impact, and this creates a subtle bracing pattern in the diaphragm, intercostal muscles, and pelvic floor. Over time, this becomes your default breathing style. Fast, shallow, upper chest breathing associated with survival mode. Breathwork helps reverse this by releasing muscle tension around the respiratory system, regulating the vagus nerve, your main calming nerve, rebalancing carbon dioxide and oxygen levels, accessing deeper brain states where trauma memories are stored, creating internal safety which allows the body to finally let go. This is why so many people cry, shake, or feel warmth flowing through their chest during breathwork. Not because they are being dramatic, but because their physiology is unfreezing. How breath influences the nervous system. When you inhale, your heart rate naturally speeds up. When you exhale, it slows down. Trauma survivors tend to have long inhales and short exhales, which keeps them in subtle sympathetic activation, fight or flight. Breathwork retrains this pattern. By lengthening your exhale, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, calming the body and signaling safety to the brain. Over time, this helps rewrite the danger settings that trauma has locked into place. Certain breathwork methods can even induce temporary altered states, allowing emotional processing, memory reconsolidation, somatic discharge, trembling, sweating, yawning, crying, deep relaxation, and body awareness. This is why breathwork sessions often feel like therapy, meditation, and energy healing combined. Types of breathwork for trauma processing. Not all breathwork is the same, and not all techniques are trauma safe. Some stimulate the nervous system, others calm it. Some access layers of emotional memory, others regulate physiology. Here are the main types used in trauma healing. 1. Diaphragmatic breathing, belly breathing, the foundation of trauma regulation. This technique retrains the diaphragm to move freely, releasing chronic tension patterns caused by bracing. Benefits: reduces anxiety, stimulates the vagus nerve, creates a sense of grounding. This is the technique therapists often start with. 2. Coherent breathing, regulated rhythm. Breathing at 5 to 6 breaths per minute smooths heart rate variability and stabilizes the autonomic nervous system. Benefits: emotional stability, improved focus, reduced emotional reactivity. This is excellent for long-term nervous system repair. 3. Box breathing, used in military and clinical settings. A structured pattern. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. Benefits: immediate calming, reduces panic, increases presence. Great for acute stress, though not ideal for deep trauma release. 4. Somatic release breathwork, holotropic, rebirthing, conscious connected breath. This is the deeper work. Continuous, rhythmic breathing without pauses helps access suppressed emotions and body memories. Benefits: emotional breakthroughs, somatic discharge, unfreezing chronic trauma patterns. This should be practiced with a trained facilitator for safety. 5. Vagus nerve breathing, extended exhales. Slow, long exhalations tone the vagus nerve and retrain the body into parasympathetic dominance. Benefits: better sleep, reduced inflammation, lowered heart rate. Excellent for people with complex trauma. What trauma release feels like during breathwork. Trauma release is not always dramatic. Sometimes it feels like nothing more than a softening. But there are common sensations many people report. Heat spreading through the chest, trembling or shaking, tingling in hands, arms, or face, crying without an obvious reason, deep spontaneous sighs, sudden emotional clarity, feeling of unfreezing. These are physical signs of the nervous system discharging stored survival energy. Importantly, release does not always look emotional. It often looks mechanical, like the body adjusting, unlocking, or rebooting itself. Why breathwork works when talking doesn't. Talk therapy can help you understand your trauma, but understanding alone doesn't release the physiological imprint. Breathwork accesses parts of the brain that talk therapy cannot reach. The brainstem, where survival patterns are stored. The limbic system, where emotional memories live. The autonomic nervous system, which controls your stress response. Breathwork brings regulation to the body first, which then allows the mind to reinterpret memories from a place of safety. It reverses the traditional order of healing. Instead of think to feel better, it teaches the body to calm first so the mind can follow. Breathwork as a daily trauma healing practice. The real power of breathwork is consistency. You don't need long sessions every day. Even 5 minutes every morning can start rewiring your system. A simple trauma-safe daily practice. Inhale for 4 seconds. Exhale for 6 seconds. Repeat for 3 to 5 minutes. This strengthens vagal tone, lowers cortisol, and gradually shifts the nervous system out of chronic survival mode. Trauma is also held in muscles, fascia, posture, breath, reflexes, and nervous system. While people often imagine trauma as a psychological wound, the body experiences it as a physical event. Muscles contract, joints lock, the spine collapses or stiffens, the pelvis tightens, shoulders rise and never come back down. The body prepares for danger, and without release, it stays there. Movement becomes the gateway to restoring what trauma has frozen. Unlike traditional exercise, somatic movement is not about strength, flexibility, or performance. It is about awareness, release, and repatterning. The goal is not to change how the body looks, but how it remembers. Somatic exercises help your nervous system complete old survival responses, discharge stored tension, and rediscover natural fluidity. When the body unlearns the language of fear, the mind can finally stop repeating the story. Why movement works when nothing else does. Every traumatic response is a physical one before it is a mental one. Fight, muscles contract, fists clench. Flight, legs prepare to sprint, heart accelerates. Freeze, tension spreads through the body like cement. Fawn, posture collapses, chest closes, breath becomes shallow. If these responses are interrupted by shock, immobilization, threat, or overwhelm, the body holds on to them as unfinished loops. You may walk through life with a half-finished flinch in your shoulders or a never-completed sprint locked into your hips. Movement and somatic exercises allow the body to complete these loops. Some movements bring deep grounding. Others stimulate trembling, a form of natural trauma discharge. Others bring awareness to areas that have gone numb. The body begins to thaw, and suddenly a person who hasn't cried in 15 years might feel a single tear, one of the most powerful signs of the freeze response finally softening. Types of somatic movements for trauma healing. There is no single somatic method. Instead, there are interconnected approaches that target different layers of the body-mind system. Below are the most effective ones used in trauma treatment worldwide. Grounding movements, returning to the body. Grounding exercises help trauma survivors reconnect with their physical presence, especially when dissociation or numbness is common. Techniques include weight shifting, gently shifting weight from one foot to the other. This reactivates proprioception, the sense of where you are in space, which trauma often disrupts. Barefoot grounding, standing or walking barefoot slowly, paying attention to pressure and texture beneath your feet. This calms the vagus nerve and increases body awareness. Slow spine wave, rolling the spine forward and back in a soft wave. It mobilizes the back muscles that tighten during freeze responses. These movements teach the nervous system that the body is safe to inhabit again. Tremor-inducing exercises, natural trauma release. The human body is wired to shake after overwhelming events. Animals do it all the time. after being chased, attacked, or cornered, they tremble intensely to release adrenaline and complete the fight or flight response. Humans suppress this instinct. TRE, tension and trauma releasing exercises, and other somatic therapies bring this natural mechanism back. Tremors are not dangerous. On the contrary, they are one of the body's deepest methods of release. Common tremor practices include pelvic lift and hold. Lying on your back with knees bent, you gently lift your hips and hold. After a minute or two, the legs begin to shake naturally. Wall squats, holding a mild squat until subtle trembling starts. The tremors move upward through the body, releasing tension stored in the hips and psoas. Prone leg raises, activating deeper muscles that trigger neurogenic tremors. People often report warmth spreading through the hips, emotional release, spontaneous sighs or yawns, deep relaxation afterward. This is the survival response completing itself, sometimes for the first time in years. Pendulation movements, expanding your window of tolerance. Developed by Dr. Peter Levine, pendulation involves moving attention and movement between areas of tension and areas of ease. It teaches the nervous system to tolerate sensation without overwhelm. Techniques include contract and release, gently contracting a tense muscle group for 2 to 3 seconds, then releasing. This helps the brain differentiate threat from safety. Micro movements, tiny controlled motions of the neck, shoulders, or hips. These are perfect for people with a strong freeze response who cannot tolerate big movements. Tension-ease contrast, alternating between places in the body that feel tight and places that feel soft. Over time, the nervous system becomes more resilient, flexible, and responsive. Flow-based movements, reawakening fluidity. Trauma creates rigidity in the body. Flow-based movements restore fluidity. These practices are rhythmic, gentle, and expressive, helping release emotional tension stored in the fascia. Examples include somatic dance, slow, intuitive movement guided by emotion rather than choreography. Figure 8 hip movements, releasing the pelvis where trauma often accumulates. Arm spirals and circular patterns, undoing shoulder bracing and chest tightness. These help rebuild the sense of aliveness trauma often steals. Breath movement integration. Movement becomes more powerful when combined with breath. Examples: exhale with contraction, tensing muscles gently while exhaling to release deep-rooted tension. Inhale with expansion, opening the chest and ribs to overcome chronic defensive postures. Shaking with continuous breath, allowing breath to guide tremors into deeper layers of the body. This type of work bridges breathwork with physical somatic release. What somatic movement feels like during trauma release. People describe tingling or buzzing, heat rising, shaking or trembling, feeling heavier or lighter, spontaneous stretching, emotional shifts, waves of relief. Some feel tears, others laugh. Some feel nothing except subtle softening. All of these are normal. The body releases trauma in its own language, not in words. Why somatic movement is essential for full healing. Because trauma is stored in the body, cognitive understanding alone cannot free it. Somatic movement retrains the nervous system, releases frozen tension, restores mobility to protective patterns, rebuilds presence, increases resilience, and reestablishes safety in the body. It teaches the body how to live again, how to move without fear, breathe without restriction, and exist without hypervigilance. Movement is not just exercise. It is the physical rewriting of your trauma story. Modern trauma healing is no longer limited to talking about memories or analyzing past events. While traditional talk therapy is incredibly valuable, we now understand that trauma does not live solely in the mind. It lives in the body, the nervous system, and the subconscious. Because of this, the most effective trauma therapies are those that integrate body, mind, and emotional processing. This chapter explores the most powerful therapeutic modalities and guided practices that help people process, release, and integrate trauma safely. Each approach works in a different way, targeting different layers of the trauma imprint, but all share a common goal: restoring the body's natural capacity for safety, connection, and inner freedom. Somatic experiencing, SE, completing the body's survival responses. Developed by Dr. Peter Levine, somatic experiencing is one of the most widely respected trauma therapies in the world. It is based on the observation that animals survive life or death events daily but rarely develop PTSD. Why? Because their bodies naturally release the energy of the fight or flight response through shaking, trembling, pacing, or deep breathing. Humans often don't. Somatic experiencing helps patients track body sensations without overwhelm, slowly thaw freeze states, complete unfinished fight/flight responses, release trauma through tremors, breaths, or subtle movements, restore a sense of internal safety. Sessions are gentle, slow, and deeply intuitive. There is no forced emotional breakthrough. Instead, the body guides the healing, not the story. People often describe SE as the first time my body actually listened, or the first therapy where I didn't feel re-traumatized. EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. EMDR is one of the most researched trauma therapies and is especially effective for PTSD, childhood trauma, and emotional flashbacks. It works by using bilateral stimulation, eye movements, tapping, or sound to activate both hemispheres of the brain at the same time. This allows traumatic memories to be reprocessed safely without the emotional charge that once made them unbearable. When a memory is processed through EMDR, the brain reorganizes it. The emotional intensity decreases. The nervous system stops reacting to it as if it's still happening. Many people experience rapid shifts, describing EMDR as years of therapy in months. It is powerful because it doesn't require deep storytelling. It requires the brain to complete what trauma interrupted. Internal family systems, IFS, healing the inner parts. IFS, created by Dr. Richard Schwartz, teaches that we are not one single mind. We are a system of parts. Some parts carry pain. Others carry shame. Some protect us by shutting down emotions or keeping us alert. Trauma creates fragmented inner parts that often feel stuck in old experiences. IFS helps you connect with wounded inner parts, understand protective behaviors, comfort the younger parts stuck in trauma, reduce inner conflict, build self-compassion. Instead of trying to get rid of the traumatized parts, IFS teaches us to befriend them. Over time, those parts begin to relax, integrate, and trust. This therapy is especially effective for childhood trauma, emotional neglect, and trauma survivors who struggle with self-blame. Trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, TFCBT. TFCBT blends cognitive tools with emotional processing. It is designed especially for childhood trauma, sexual trauma, relational trauma, grief and loss. It helps people understand how their thoughts, beliefs, and body responses are interconnected. While TFCBT is more structured than somatic therapies, it is powerful for retraining the brain to recognize safety again. Many survivors carry beliefs such as, "I deserved it. It's my fault. I should have done something. I'm never safe." TFCBT helps dismantle these harmful beliefs and replace them with grounded, compassionate truths. When combined with somatic or nervous system work, it becomes even more effective. Body-oriented therapies, craniosacral, massage, and myofascial release. Some trauma is so deeply embedded in the tissues that talk therapy alone cannot reach it. Bodywork therapies help soften the physical armor created by chronic fear and hypervigilance. Craniosacral therapy. Gentle, subtle touch that releases tension in the head, spine, and nervous system. It is incredibly calming for those with anxiety, migraines, insomnia, and dissociation. Trauma-informed massage. Not designed to relax muscles, but to release emotional holding patterns safely. Practitioners follow the body's signals rather than pushing it. Myofascial release. The fascia holds emotional memory. Slow, sustained pressure allows the tissues to melt and discharge long-held tension. People report spontaneous tears, deep sighs, or emotional shifts. Not because the therapist said something, but because the body finally felt safe enough to let go. Guided practices you can do at home. Not all trauma healing requires a therapist. Daily guided practices can help regulate the nervous system, soften hypervigilance, and build emotional resilience. Guided meditations, especially those focused on grounding, compassion, or body scanning. Trauma survivors often avoid their bodies. Guided practices help gently reconnect without overwhelm. Breathwork sessions. Guided, soft, regulated breathwork helps release tension safely. Guided audio reduces the risk of triggering or going too deep too fast. Somatic check-ins. A simple 2-minute practice. Pause. Scan your body. Notice tightness, pressure, heat, numbness. Breathe into one area gently. Observe without judgment. This builds the capacity to feel without shutting down. Guided visualization. Imagining safe spaces, protective figures, or comforting light helps soothe the limbic system. Journaling prompts. Questions like, where does my body feel unsafe? What part of me needs comfort today? What emotion am I avoiding? Help integrate body and mind processing. Vagus nerve practices. Humming, cold exposure, slow exhalations, and gentle neck stretches strengthen the nervous system's ability to self-regulate. Combining treatments, the most effective approach. The most powerful trauma healing is integrative. A person may use somatic experiencing to release physical tension, EMDR to process memories, IFS to heal inner wounds, breathwork to regulate daily stress, journaling and meditation to build emotional connection. There is no one-size-fits-all. Trauma is unique, and healing must be personalized. But the unifying principle remains. The body must be involved. The nervous system must be supported. The mind must be understood. And the heart must feel safe again. Therapy and guided practices give people the map. The body ultimately becomes the path. Trauma healing is not a one-time breakthrough. It's not a single therapy session, a single breathwork practice, or a single emotional release. Trauma healing is a daily, lived relationship between you and your body. A process of teaching your nervous system every single day that the danger has passed, that you're safe now, that you're allowed to rest, breathe, soften, and feel again. Daily practices are important because trauma is stored in patterns of breath, patterns of posture, patterns of thought, patterns of tension, patterns of emotion, patterns of withdrawal. These patterns don't dissolve in one moment. They change gradually through repeated signals of safety, grounding, and presence. This chapter outlines the most effective daily practices that support ongoing trauma release. You don't need to do them all. Even 1 or 2 consistent practices can shift the entire landscape of your nervous system over time. Morning grounding ritual, 3 to 5 minutes. Your body wakes up holding everything it carried from the day before. Tension, emotion, unresolved stress, or leftover adrenaline. starting the morning with grounding signals to your nervous system that it doesn't need to start the day in survival mode. How to do it: sit up comfortably. Place your feet on the floor. Take 3 slow breaths, making each exhale longer than the inhale. Scan your body from head to toe. Notice the parts that feel tight, numb, heavy, or restless. Place a hand over one area that calls your attention. Breathe into it gently with compassion. This practice builds awareness. It teaches your brain to listen rather than judge. Some people begin crying within seconds, not because they're sad, but because their body is finally being acknowledged. The 4, 7, 8 breath nervous system reset. Trauma creates a chronically activated stress response. This breathing pattern slows your heart rate, activates the parasympathetic nervous system, and brings your body back into safety. How to do it: inhale for 4 counts. Hold for 7 counts. Exhale for 8 counts. Repeat for 4 rounds. Do this morning, midday, and before bed. After a week, people often report deeper sleep, fewer panic sensations, better emotional awareness, a calmer baseline state. Breath is one of the fastest ways to communicate safety to your body. Somatic check-ins throughout the day. Trauma pulls people into their heads. The mind races, the body disappears. Somatic check-ins bring you back into your physical self in under 60 seconds. How to do it: pause whatever you're doing. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice your jaw, shoulders, belly. Ask your body, what do you need right now? The answer might be a stretch, a sigh, water, rest, breath, stillness. This develops the habit of self-attunement, which trauma disrupts. Shake therapy, 2 to 5 minutes. Shaking is one of the most natural trauma release mechanisms, used by animals and infants instinctively. Adults suppress it, but you can reteach your body how to use it. How to do it: stand with knees slightly bent. Begin shaking your hands, then arms, then legs. Let it become a whole body shake. Keep breathing. Let sound come out if needed. Signs of release include trembling, spontaneous deep breaths, yawning, warmth, emotional shifts. This clears stress hormones and loosens frozen tension. Emotional naming, the limbic system calmer. One of the simplest yet most powerful trauma practices is naming what you feel. When emotions are unnamed, the limbic system becomes overwhelmed. Naming them regulates the brain. How to do it: when you feel something, tension, fear, emptiness, anger, quietly name it. I feel tightness. I feel fear. I feel sadness. I feel numb. I feel overwhelmed. This does not amplify the emotion, it shrinks it. Research shows that naming an emotion can reduce its intensity by up to 40%. Safe touch and self-holding. Many trauma survivors feel unsafe in their own skin. Gentle self-touch signals safety directly to your nervous system and reduces cortisol. Techniques include hand on heart, hand on belly, both hands around upper arms, cupping the back of your neck, pressing palms together. Hold for 20 to 30 seconds while breathing. Your body recognizes this as soothing, grounding, and protective. Journaling for release, 10 minutes. Trauma is stored as fragments, images, sensations, flashes, emotional echoes. Journaling helps integrate them. Prompts: what is my nervous system trying to say today? Where does safety live in my body? What am I afraid to feel? What part of me needs comfort? This is not about analyzing trauma. It's about giving your inner world a language. Evening downregulation ritual, 5 to 10 minutes. Nighttime is when trauma often resurfaces. Flashbacks, restlessness, racing thoughts, tightening muscles. Ending your day with a calming ritual tells your nervous system it's safe to sleep. Options include gentle stretching, slow belly breathing, warm shower with intentional exhale, vagus nerve stimulation, humming, soft singing, dimmed lights, no screens 30 minutes before bed. When the nervous system downshifts, the body begins to heal overnight. Boundaries and energy protection. One of the deepest effects of trauma is the loss of boundaries. Saying yes when you mean no, absorbing others' emotions, or people-pleasing to avoid conflict. Daily boundary practice. Pause before responding. Ask yourself, do I want this? If the answer is no, breathe and say, I'm not available for that right now. Healthy boundaries are a form of trauma recovery. They teach your body that you protect yourself now. The 1-minute vagus nerve reset. A regulated vagus nerve means fewer anxiety spikes, better digestion, less inflammation, calmer emotions, more resilience. How to do it? Sit upright. Look straight ahead. Without turning your head, look to the left for 20 to 30 seconds. Return to center. Look to the right for 20 to 30 seconds. You'll feel a swallow, sigh, or yawn. Signs of activation shifting into calm. Consistency is the healer. Daily trauma practices are not about fixing yourself. They're about reparenting your nervous system, giving it the safety it didn't receive during the trauma. Your body learns through repetition. Every sigh, every grounding breath, every gentle stretch, every moment of attunement is a message. I am safe now. I am here. I am healing. Little by little, these small practices accumulate. And eventually, you realize that the trauma no longer controls your breath, your body, your emotions, or your life. Trauma is not a story you tell. It is a story your body remembers. It lives in your muscles, your breath, your nervous system, your posture, your heartbeat, and even in the way you move through the world. For too long, many of us have believed that healing only happens in the mind, through analysis, understanding, or talking. But trauma doesn't live in thought. It lives in sensation, in the physical echoes of fear, in the frozen energy of survival. The path to release is not about forcing yourself to forget, to suppress, or to push through pain. It is about listening to your body, noticing the whispers of tension, discomfort, or tightness, and allowing what has been held for years to finally soften, move, and dissolve. Breath, movement, somatic awareness, and guided therapeutic practices are not optional. They are essential tools that help your nervous system complete what was interrupted and reclaim the life that trauma once tried to steal. Healing is not a single moment. It is a daily practice, a continuous conversation with your body, a compassionate reparenting of your inner self. Every conscious breath, every grounding exercise, every gentle shake or sigh, every tiny act of self-attunement sends your body the message: you are safe. You are seen. You are allowed to release. You are not broken. You are not defined by what happened to you. Your body already knows how to heal. It simply needs your permission, your patience, and your presence. The journey is gradual, sacred, and profoundly transformative. By choosing to engage with your body, to honor its wisdom, and to practice daily care, you are stepping into freedom, reclaiming your life, and discovering a power you may have thought was lost, but has always been inside you. Trauma can live in the body, but so can resilience, vitality, and profound liberation.